Hello guys, Albatross here, just coming at you with another quick video. This is the third part of our Node.js tutorial series, and in this video I said I would go a little bit more in depth with Handlebars itself. So in this video I'm just going to be looking at some of the things you can do inside of Handlebars. So as you can see at this point in the last video, we rendered index. Instead of having to use the fs module, we can take this away now. Instead of having to use this module to read a file, Handlebars does it for us. So as you can see then, we had passed in a something in our object, we referred to something in our object inside of Handlebars, and that was just logged out. So if we start the server again with Nodemon, then we can see in here that we just get hey there and log to the console. Handlebars, the documentation is here. Handlebarsjs.com, so I recommend you go through and read through some of this stuff, but I'll more visually take you through it now anyway. So for example then, we've already looked at how to inject these certain things that we pass in index into our index.html file. So we can also have if statements. So we can just put like condition is true. So inside of our template now, we can reference this in an if statement. So we can use an if statement in here. So we can say hash if, and then we can just say the condition. So in our case, it is cond, and we can end that with slash if. So we can say if the condition, then we can just print out condition is met. We can also put an else in here. So we can say else, and then we can just say not met. So at this point then, we can refresh this and we say condition is met in here. If we make this false in the object, then we can say condition is not met. So that's a handy feature, having an if statement in here. Another handy feature in Handlebars, let me just go up here for that and keep that down there. We can use a for each loop. So we can just say hash each, and then we end that off with slash each. So obviously we need an array to go through in here. So I'm just going to create an array. We'll just put it in here. I'm just going to call it R, and we can just have a few different parameters in here, a few different items in here. So now we can say each array. Then what we can do is we can do a few more curly braces, and we can just say this. So this will reference these items here for each one. Let me just put these in paragraphs just so that they take up new lines, and we'll try this out. So as you can see here, we get each one logged out as a paragraph, each array item. So if we were to do this with objects instead, we can do objects, and we can just say hey one, and then we can just do this along. I don't really know what to put in here. Okay, so we have 3 objects in here now. For each object, then we can just log out hey, so we don't need to even say this. We just put hey in here, and as you can see, the same thing logging out again. We can have like multiple different things in here, so we can say hey 2 is going to be hello in here. So at this point then we can do this, but we can say hey 2. Now if there is no hey 2 in the thing, it will just not do anything. It won't like print this out or anything like that. It'll just ignore it and just well, you can look in the console here and see what it does. I believe it just puts a blank paragraph, just a paragraph that essentially doesn't exist. And then if there is this hey 2 in the object, then it just puts it out as normal. It doesn't put out null or undefined or anything like that. So we can also, instead of if, we can do unless. And then that would, obviously reverse the logic then between these two, so that we could have, like not met if there's no condition. So that basically just reverses the logic of that. So one more thing that I want to go into in this video. These are just a few like basic, sort of methods that are available to you inside of the HTML whenever you use Handlebars. I want to set up some partials as well. So for example, in your application up here, we can have a nav bar. So obviously up at the top here then, we'll just declare nav and then just say this is the nav. So obviously at the top here then we can say this is the nav bar. Like height 50 pixels, back just so you can see it. That's probably better. So we have our navbar up here just so that it looks like a navbar. Just ignore the styling here because we don't care about styling. This is a Node tutorial. And obviously then we create a new page. So if we created a new page in here called, I don't know, profile.html. So this is the profile. So we would just have to set up another route in here. So if we just do this, let me just get this out. So if we get /profile, and we're going to render profile instead. So if I go to /profile now, then this is the profile. So obviously at the top here, we're going to want to have the same navbar in our profile as well. So obviously, you know, we could previously, in the old way of doing things, we could have just copied and pasted nav up here, which yeah, it does work. But what if, you know, what if I had 30 pages and I made a change to the navbar? We obviously don't want to go through and change the navbar in every single place, in every single file. It just causes mistakes, it makes it awkward. So we want a way to put the navbar up at the top here, but make it be the same across, you know, all of our pages. Well, handlebars can be used here. So basically, for handlebars, what we can specify in here is partials directory. So the partials directory for us is going to be, well, I'm just going to stick it in /views, and then within views in here, we're going to make a directory called partials. And then this is going to be in here, so we're going to have our partials in here. And then we can just say that the views the partials directory is in views and partials. So inside of partials then, we can create a new HTML file. So we can just call this one nav.html, for example. So this will store the view of our navbar. So what we can do is we can take this away from index, and we just have, you know, hello here. And then inside of nav, we can just paste this in here. So handlebars knows about this file now. It knows that this is a partial. So obviously whenever we come in here to the profile or home, this is not there. What we can do instead here is we can do our curly braces again, but we can do a, what is that, a greater than symbol? We can use the greater than, and then we can specify a partial in here. So the greater than sign is going to be assigned to handlebars that says, right, go and get the navbar partial at this point and put it in right here. So obviously we just put in the nav in here, we put the nav in profile as well. And if we go here now, we can see the navbar in here. If we go to profile as well, we can see it in here as well. So this basically means that the navbar can just be held inside of this one file, so that we could have, you know, a nav, a footer. You know, this is better in a few different ways because it keeps it clean. It also means that any changes you make apply across, you know, all views. So then obviously, you know, when we make a change in here, it changes across, you know, all of our files that reference to this partial. Okay then guys, so there's just a final wee thing. I know that this video is probably a lot to get into one video, but there's just a final thing about handlebars that I want you to know as well, is that these little if statements here. So this if condition, just very quickly, just so you can see it, and let me just put this in here. This is just going to be true. So inside of here then we obviously have this if. So this if function is built into handlebars as a function that says, you know, like, you know, whenever we type in this #if, then it'll do an if statement in JavaScript, and it will return the result. Obviously this is server-side rendering, by the way. This is nothing to do with the client. The client will never see anything like this. This all gets parsed before it gets sent to the client. But basically what we can do is we could define our own. So we could say a useful function like, you know, like get status or whatever. Okay, and no, wait, hold on. Yes. So what I could do is I could do get status, and then I could pass in a parameter in here. So for example, get status cond, the condition that we pass in here, and what we can do then is basically this is going to be a parameter passed, and this get status function is going to be one that we're going to declare. So obviously at this point it won't work because we're saying missing helper get status. What we can do is we can define this helper in here. So whenever we create this handlebars, when we create this instance of handlebars, we pass in our extension name and the partials directory already. We can pass in our helpers here as well. So inside of helpers, then this is going to be a helpers object. So that's what we're referring to. We're referring to the helpers object. So we can say get status in here. And then what this can be is this can be a function with the condition. Then what we can do is we can say if the condition is false, we can just simply return the text false, and if else, then we can just return the text true. So we're just gonna say no and then yes, just to make this like a wee bit different and less confusing. So this basically means that then inside of here, then this condition, if the condition is met, then so the condition's met is what we're checking here. We can pass in this condition as well to this get status function, which is going to pass it to this function. And if there's no condition, then we return the text no, and if there is, we return the text yes. So the text is going to be displayed right here. So at this point, then if we run this, then we can see yes in here. Let's just make this a paragraph just so it's like easier to see. As you can see, we say yes in here. So obviously if we change this condition down here to false, we can say the condition met is no. So at this point then, we can obviously pass in like get status 1, and we're going to see it, the condition is met. And if we pass in 0 in here, the condition is not met. So that's just some very handy things about handlebars. Just some basics so that you can definitely do a bit of mucking about and see what you can do. So in the next video, I'll probably go over some Express stuff, some more Express, and how, to do some a little bit more advanced things with it. But until then, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.